Hello and welcome to my video. I'm Deb and this is my video on what self-esteem is and what's wrong with it and why we need to move on to a different concept. Now I am making this video because I've gone through periods of darkness in my life. I struggled with body image issues and still do, but not as badly as before. I also went through a very hard time when I first became a single mother. I had to, go back to living with my parents and depending on them completely. And today, everything has changed. I'm an independent person who looks after myself and my child. I also run a side business and work with clients from all over the world. And one of the things that got me out of the valley of darkness, so to speak, was understanding the concept of self-esteem and how it could actually be harmful to people. And that's what I'd like to share about in this video, so just stick around. To begin with, what is self-esteem and can it be toxic? I'm going to say yes, it can be toxic, and we'll understand that when we look at what self-esteem actually means. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself at any given time. You can feel really good about yourself or you can feel really bad about yourself. If you got a promotion, if you've done well in your studies, if your crush liked you back, then you're like, oh wow, I'm fantastic and I feel great. But if things in life don't go your way, you lose your job or you don't get the promotion you want or someone turns you down, then you feel like crap and you tell yourself, wow, I must not be worth anything. And this entire concept is pretty toxic if you think about it. The concept of self-esteem, that is estimating yourself. Okay, so we're going to look at a few reasons why. Begin with, when you say that when you believe in the concept of self esteem, you assume you have some kind of rating or value. You tell yourself, okay, this is where I belong on the scale of good to bad. You estimate yourself as a person, you assign a value to yourself as a human being. And if you think about it, that's actually ridiculous. You are valuable just because you exist. You don't have to achieve something or be worth something in order for you to exist. That's a human concept. That's something that we made up. The very fact that you exist is all the evidence you need that you are worthwhile. So the problem with self-esteem is that when you have high self-esteem or low self-esteem, you're giving yourself a value. You're trying to compare yourself the way one would compare, I don't know, the quality of vegetables or something, and it's pretty ridiculous. And another reason why the concept of self-esteem doesn't work is because it assumes that your value can change as a person. And really just think about that. Are you worth less today and worth more tomorrow, or maybe you were worth you were worth something more in your past? And there are plenty of people who actually do feel and think that way, but it makes no sense. You as a person, through all the years that you grow and live and do the things that you do, it's kind of absurd to try and rate it and measure it and to say, okay, on this day, I, Deb, am worth 4 on the 5 point scale, or yesterday I was worth 1 on the 5 point scale. It's ridiculous. But when you believe in the concept of self esteem, that's kind of what you do. You tell yourself, okay, so I got this client and I'm really hot right now. Or I couldn't get this date. I must be crap. And that really sucks and it doesn't make any sense because you as a person who exists, you have value and you can't really assign something to it because you are so multifaceted. And of course you can't control every aspect of your life. Some days your moods go up and down. Does it make sense to rate yourself and say, okay, you're good today because you feel good and you're bad tomorrow because you don't feel good tomorrow? Or today you lose your job, tomorrow you get a promotion, so are you good today? I mean, are you bad today and are you better tomorrow? None of it makes sense. So when we focus on this concept of self esteem, we actually create a lot of mental trauma for ourselves just by trying to rate where we are on this crazy imaginary scale. Like we're good today, tomorrow, bad, good today, bad tomorrow, and we don't know what we'll be a year from now. And the whole point is that you don't have to do this at all. But before we move on to that, let's just look at the last thing that's wrong with self esteem. Another assumption is that you become worth more when you do something. For example, I don't know, you go to college, or you marry a certain type of person, or you make a certain amount of money. You do all that and you're worth a whole lot more. But, what if, let's say, you get sick, or someone betrays you, or you lose something, or you make a mistake? Are you worthless? Does one thing cancel out the other? And let's say you make a mistake at work today, do you have to work twice as hard tomorrow to make up for it? It's insane when you think about it. The whole concept of self esteem, having high self esteem, having low self esteem, trying to fix yourself is incredibly toxic. And it's one of the most healing things you can do for yourself is to discard it altogether. You, as a human being, have value. Some value. I mean, why do you have to assign something to it? You are a multifaceted person. You could be a sister or a brother, a parent, a great student, a great teacher, or you could just be someone kind to a stranger on the street. You don't have to be perfect all the time, and you're not bad all the time either. So, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to get rid of this idea that you can even rate who you are. And let's check out the next slide. So, Dr. Albert Ellis, he is one of the biggest figures in psychology. He says that self esteem is the greatest sickness known to man or woman because it is conditional. It's whatever I explained to you just now. You're constantly judging yourself based on some kind of score, and it's so conditional and variable that you can't help but feel terrible even when you have high self esteem. So, what I'd invite you to look at is something called self acceptance. This also was something I learned when I was reading a lot of Dr. Albert Ellis's books. And self acceptance is basically accepting yourself, it's in the name. But what it means in depth is that you look at yourself as an entity or a person who is too complex, too big, too multifaceted to be given any single rating in life. You have positives, you have negatives. You are changing constantly, and what else? Life around you is changing too. One day you're going to do really well at work, you're going to feel inspired, and another day you're going to do pretty crap because you just don't feel good, or maybe you caught sick. And sometimes life throws curveballs at you. You may just find that the economy changes and you suffer, but it doesn't say anything about you personally. The concept of self acceptance is to just be okay with the mystery that you are, and to just see yourself as this complex person who has both faults and perfections, whether it's in your appearances, your manners, your intelligence, your skills, your achievements, your failures, everything put together. You are so much, and you just need to sit with it and accept yourself. This is Albert Ellis's quote as well on self acceptance. He says, "Accept that acceptance is largely compassion for you and yourself and others and yourself and the troubled world and itself." So, when you practice self acceptance, you can also extend it to other people. Accept other people for being whatever they are, even when they are unpleasant. And it's really hard, and there is a part of you saying that that's immoral. I can't accept somebody who does something crappy. And I'm not saying that you have to endorse something that somebody else does when it's not right. But you kind of need to go, okay, this person said this and did that, and well, it is what it is. And when you remove that emotional charge, that negative emotional charge from demanding that people around you and the world around you behaves in a certain way, you actually liberate yourself to take really positive steps. Like in my journey as a single mom, I faced a great deal of criticism, and one of the things I had to do was accept that certain loved ones would never be kind to me and would never really give me the support that I needed at an emotional level. And I really wanted them not to be that way, but they were that way. And the healthiest thing that I could do was just realize that this is how they're behaving at this moment currently. And I can't, or I rather will not, assign them a label that calls them bad people, because then I'd have to do the same thing for myself, for whatever decisions and situations I've been through. And another way to look at self acceptance is to accept the world. And this too is difficult because none of us want to accept that there is war happening or someone somewhere else is being hurt. What is meant by acceptance in this context is to acknowledge that good things and bad things happen around the world. And we mustn't forget that good things happen too. And when we accept it, we kind of accept that it exists, but we don't say that, okay, now we're just going to let it go by. We're going to let bad things happen, or we're going to endorse these bad things. That's not what it means. What it really means is when you acknowledge that something bad's happening in the world or the situation is not what you want. Maybe your job is putting on a lot of pressure and it sucks. And you're allowed to think that it sucks. But you also have to accept that it sucks without telling yourself, I wish that this just weren't the case. I mean, do wish that it wasn't the case, but take away that emotional charge. When you accept that you're in a difficult situation right now, you reduce some of the extra burden you create yourself when you add, when you're going through something tough and you don't like it. And when you focus on the fact that you don't like it, you're actually making that situation work worse. Whereas if you remove that emotional charge, you're in a better frame of mind. Your situation may not change, but you're in a better frame of mind to make other decisions that suit you. And that's the whole point of acceptance, to remove that added layer of emotion that's preventing you from making better decisions or coping or just dealing with the situation as it is. And I'd like to end with a little bit of my story. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have a bit of a body image issue, and I'm hugely recovered from that. Not completely, but there was a time when I couldn't bear to see myself in pictures. And I would never have created a video, but here I am, uh, putting myself online, getting my name out there, and having my picture online and welcoming clients to come and find me because I embraced self acceptance and I let go of self esteem. I accept and acknowledge that I've had some tough times. I've also had great times, and that's something we always forget. We forget that we have really great times in our life. And I accept the good and the bad in me. I accept that I may not be the age I want to be or be in the shape I want to be in, but I also accept that I am healthy and productive and moving forward in my career. And there are so many amazing things in my life, including my kid. And it has brought me, both the good and the bad have brought me to a really good place in life. And I'd like to share that with you, which is why I made this entire video on self esteem and self acceptance. And I hope that it helps you out. And I suggest that you spend some time journaling and writing about ways that you rate yourself and whether you think self esteem is something you really want to stick to, and why not try self acceptance. You may find that your life is a little less burdensome when you learn to accept yourself, others, and whatever worldly situation you're dealing with. And that's the end of my video. I hope this helped. Do like and subscribe. I'll have more content for you.